Right into it. Florida State had a scrimmage this week, their first scrimmage of the spring. I got a little bit of info that I want to talk about. We put a lot of this in our Discord, put it on Patreon as well. So if you haven't joined there, the links are in the description. Got this information like as the scrimmage was happening. So we were able to update this live and then just haven't had a moment really to jump on and do a video. So I figured I'd wait till we did the podcast and then throw this out as its own clip. But Richie, I'll talk with you a little bit about some of the scrimmage stuff, and then we'll kind of roll from there, and I'll get some of your thoughts on it. We'll start at the top, right? We won't bury the lead. DJU looks really, really confident. Certainly looks the part. Looks like he's been there, done that. Very mature. Doesn't have a full grasp of the offense yet. Made some mistakes. I mean, certainly could have been a little sharper. But for a first scrimmage, seemed pretty impressed with him. Again, I don't think he went out and lit the world on fire. I also don't think there was any kind of cause for concern or any kind of worry about his performance. But what I was told, and I know that there have been some folks who have hyped up quarterback battles in the past, I was basically told there is no quarterback battle. Like, I know people thought like, oh, maybe Brock could come in and really push for it. Brock could really do a good job. And I do think that Brock is going to be a very, very capable backup and be very good for this team. But from what I've been told, just looking at one scrimmage, there is no real look between the two to make you think that this might be a battle. Do you have any thoughts there, Richie?
Yeah, I think you don't bring a guy like DJ Uiagalelei into Tallahassee unless you think he's going to be the starter, right? You don't bring somebody in for quarterback competition when you have a Brock Glenn and a Luke Kromenhoek who's just came in. It sounds like he's actually impressed as well as a true freshman. But yeah, DJ, I'm really excited for him. You know, he's up to 255 pounds now. You know, Mike loves going for it on fourth down, TJ. So I don't be surprised to see DJ getting a lot of carries on those fourth and shorts, third and shorts, whatever it may be. But, you know, coming into spring, you know, obviously if you're Mike Norvell, you want this to be an open competition, right? You want to preach competition. But at the end of the day you decided to bring DJ Uiagalelei into Tallahassee, you made that decision that he was 99% going to be your starter heading into Dublin and into ACC play next year. And I think that's where we are. And I'm excited. You know, everyone remembers this time at Clemson, but looking at what, you know, Cade Klubnik has done at Clemson, maybe it's not the player, maybe it's the coaching that's going on there. He had a really, really nice year at Oregon State. Really excited to have him at Florida State this year. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season for Florida State.
You mentioned Brock Glenn and Luke. I'll talk about them in just a moment. But as a follow-up on DJ, overall had a good day, made good decisions. Again, had some things that he could certainly work on and improve on. But again, it is first scrimmage of the spring.
So his fourth practice in pads. Yeah. Like, I can't get too upset about that.
Long way to go. Brock had a touchdown to Benson down on the goal line. I'll talk more about Benson here in a moment. He might end up. I know that 247 has trademarked this phrase, so I don't mean to steal it from them. But if I had a vote on King of the Spring, it might end up going to Malik Benson. I'll give them the registered trademark, copyright trademark that Trey used to do. Brock had a touchdown. Luke looked really good. Just what I was told is shows very early signs of being that guy. Absolutely looks like a freshman. Needs to get bigger, needs to put weight on, needs to grow. People forget that he only played high school football, high school quarterback for 2 years. You know, when Mike found him and offered him, he hadn't even taken a snap at quarterback yet. That's ridiculous to think about the fact that he ended up as the number 33 player overall in the country, one spot out of being a 5-star. But the quote that I got was that Luke looked live all day. Like he looks like he's that guy. He is really good. He does things that freshmen do, but you know, I like Brock a lot. I'm not telling you that Luke is just automatically your 2025 starter, but I think he's got a chance to be. I don't want to make comparisons between Luke and other quarterbacks who have played here that came in with, you know, a near 5-star rating, but I think he could be really, really special. I know it's one practice. I know it's one scrimmage that we're seeing and we're talking about, but the kid absolutely looks the part. Just the way he carries himself, the the type of throws that he's able to make and the confidence that he has is pretty special. So I am excited for Luke long term.
Yeah, and it's crazy because with the way you manage the roster, so like let's talk Derek Ray, Mike Norvell, right? Tony Tokars, you kind of have to decide who's next this season because the odds that Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek are both in Tallahassee heading into the next season or after next spring, I think those are pretty low because they're both Power Five starting quarterbacks, and Mike, Tony, Derek, they have to make a decision. And that's just the crazy times we are in with college football, with unlimited transfers, and everybody wants their shot. It's just wild because I do think DJU is going to be your number one guy, but you kind of have to try and solidify your number two this season. Or even not if this season, heading into next season, having a good idea who it is. And that's just the way college football is in 2024, 2025, which is just nuts to me, TJ.
Yeah, I could see both of them sticking out at least through the spring next year. But then I think, going into the spring, like if, I could see a situation where like Brock wins the job next year and Luke sticks around. But I think if Luke was to win the job, not that he would necessarily win it in spring, but you could maybe find
Have
out
an idea.
or kind of know.
A
Does
Clint
Brock,
Trickett, Jameis Winston situation. Yeah.
yeah, does Brock stick around if all signs kind of point to Luke taking that job next year? I don't
Good
know.
problem to have, TJ. Really good
Yeah,
problem to have.
it's a much better situation than we were in, 2020, 2021,
Yeah.
and so through there. So, talked about Malik Benson, talked about how smooth he looked, and really the Alabama guys, I think are all going to translate really, really well. But Malik Benson, incredibly smooth. He did a great piece with the Battles In that you should go check out. We're talking about the Battles In here in a few minutes, but he did a really, really good piece with them. That you should go check out. You should go kind of see what they had going on over there. He talked about the locker room between Alabama and here. I thought that, or what I've told is that he just looks incredibly natural out there. Looks like he belongs. There's a lot of questions around the wide receiver room. I think Florida State has a lot of guys that could be twos or threes a lot of places. I don't know that they have a number one wide receiver or that one has emerged yet. I'm obviously hoping that someone does, whether that be Kentron or Hakeem or Jaylen Brown or Malik Benson or Destin Hill. It doesn't really matter to me who that is. I just would, love to see one emerge, or I'd love to see one jump into the portal here in the spring window. Everybody's rumoring how crazy the portal could be when it opens up on April 15th. But heard really good things about Malik Benson. And then I'll give you one more, and then I'll pass it back your way a little bit to chat about some of it. Cam Davis is an absolute force, and he is going to get a lot of meaningful snaps this year. I know Florida State has a lot of running backs they like. I know they like LT. They featured him today on Twitter. They really like what they got in Roy Dell transferring in. They like Keziah Holmes, who had a nice hurdle in the scrimmage. But Cam Davis is like a 5-star talent, and if he hadn't gotten hurt, he probably would have finished as a 5-star. Really, really impressive kid, and he absolutely looks the part.
Yeah, Cam Davis is the guy who looks like a junior who's been with Coach Storms for 2 years heading into the spring and in this fall. Really excited about him. And, the one thing, when it comes to offensive linemen, tight ends, sometimes, several positions, you can't get super excited about a true freshman. Running back is a position you can get really excited about because they can contribute and make an impact instantly. And the way Cam Davis is built, he is going to get carries and going to impress a lot of people. I'm expecting big things out of him. Malik Benson, really excited about him because the question is, who is your wide receiver one right now, right? Obviously, Johnny and Keon are going to be playing on Sundays next season. And I'm really excited to see what Benson does, what Hakeem does. But to your point, TJ, Benson was the number one JUCO in the country when he went to Alabama, and now he decided to come to Florida State. He is an elite talent. He has things that you cannot coach. And if Coach Dugans can channel some of that to really get everything out of him that he can get at the college level, he has a chance to be all ACC and potentially all American talent. Man, just a lot of excitement. This spring is so different because last year we knew what we had. Everyone came back, right? Now we have a lot of new talent, and Benson is definitely one guy that I really have my eyes on.
Defense won the day is how it was kind of described to me. before we go all the way to defense, it sounded like there were some drops from the wide receivers, but that most of the guys who had drops kind of were able to clean that up and kind of make plays later. So, I'm not here to call out every single person that had a drop, but there were some of that early. Defense honestly looked great. It's expected for defense to be the better unit early in
Yep.
spring camp. Marvin Jones Jr. looked really solid. D-line in general was pretty good. Darrell Jackson, no surprise based on what we heard out of last year in camp and practice, is on an absolute another level right now. Like, it is ridiculous what they think they can get out of that kid. For those not aware, Josh Farmer is banged up and not going to be in spring at all this year, but they said Darrell Jackson absolutely was lighting it up. Linebacker play was really good. Norvell talked about this a lot too, and I kind of asked my guy that was there, like, hey, is this legitimate? Like, were the linebackers really good, or was this kind of a situation where Norvell was hyping something up because they weren't very good? Like how they coaches play reverse psychology. He's like, no. Lundy looks really good. Murphy looks like a baller. Some of the young guys were in, making plays, a lot of effort and stuff, between Blake and Cryer and others. But yeah, I think they were really excited with what they got out of a lot of the defensive play, especially up front. I mean, I think they really like what they have secondary too. I'll just round it out and tell you that I heard good things out of Devontae Brown, who I know a lot of people weren't in love with that pickup just because they know that he struggled this year at Miami, but it is nice to see what good coaching at the Power 5 level could do. He had a really good couple of years at UCF. And so, man, I know it's really early. It's one scrimmage, but the way things looked out there, my guy said that he would pick Brown and Brown to start. So Devontae and Shaheem to be your starting safety. So impressed with the defense. I don't necessarily know if the defense is going to be as good as it was last year or not. You lost a ton of talent, but I do think they're a deep unit that can be really good this year.
Yeah, and I do think the defense can be as good as they were last year as a season, if you look at it, for the full 13 games that Florida State played. But, those last 3 games, especially after Jordan went down, that defense, I mean, that was one of the best. That Louisville game was one of the best defensive performances I've ever witnessed live at a Florida State football game. It's not even close. But I don't think the defense in 2024 is going to be that defense from that night in Charlotte. But I do think they have a chance to be just as good, maybe a little better than the collective of the 2023 season for Florida State. Obviously Farmar's out, and that's fine, man. Get rested and get ready for fall camp because we don't need him in the spring. We know what he is. He is an absolute beast. No surprise to hear about Jackson, just tearing things up. This season for Jackson has to be something he's been waiting for forever. Since it probably feels like forever. He probably thought he was going to get a chance in the playoff. We're not going to go there. We already had that episode. Go look back and listen. It's X-rated. We're not going there again. But Jackson is someone I'm super excited about. I think, for as much crap as Adam Fuller got year 1s and 2, he's showing he knows what he's doing. He has a process. He has a method. And if you follow that and let it play out, good results will happen. And I'm fully expecting a defense that will not cost us a game this year, right? In past years, you think, oh man, the defense cost us that one. That will not be the case this year. I'm really excited to see what this defense looks like.
You think about last year, the way the defense finished the year.
Yeah.
Richie, the defense started the year really well, too. They gave up 17 points until that last-minute touchdown against the backups against
Malik
LSU.
Neighbors, who?
Yeah, they gave up I think the starting defense gave up 6 points to Southern Miss. They gave up 17 to BC, which I know that was a weird game.
Yeah.
They gave up 24 to Clemson. 10 to Virginia Tech, 3 to Syracuse, 13 to Duke, 16 to Wake, 7 to Pitt, 20 to Miami, again, with that busted play.
Damn, that was a good defense. That really was.
13 to North Alabama, weird game to start. Some of that came on a big trick play on that fake punt. 15 to UF, 6 to Louisville. And then the season ended, and we don't have anything to talk about after that.
The last 12 quarters of the season, they gave up, I think it was 1 touchdown, and it was gifted to the refs against Florida by the worst pass interference I've ever seen. Because that would have been a field goal.
The last 10 quarters,
10 quarters, yeah.
It was ridiculous what they were able to to pull off, and they really did all year. I think a lot of times you look back at last year and people think about how the offense didn't live up to what you wanted at all times, and so but the defense absolutely did. The defense was there every single
Yeah,
week and really played well. Even in
so
that
good.
BC game
Yeah,
where you're like, oh man, I mean, you had the fumble six that happened against BC. You had a short
yeah.
field due to another turnover that gave BC points. I mean, the defense was even pretty good in that Boston College game, and then it eventually got you off the field when they looked like they were storming back. So the last note that I had from the scrimmage, Richie, that Keandre Jones was a name that was mentioned to me. He said that he had a really good day on the offensive line. Wouldn't be surprised if he slid in and got a starting guard spot. We'll see. Long way to go. But that was another name that was mentioned to me on the offensive line. Got some guys banged up on the offensive line. Rob Scott is the one that comes to mind immediately, but some really good stuff there. Speaking of the Battle's End, Harlan, you can keep the clip rolling on this one. The Battle's End, did you see the bricks they're doing, Richie? We'll give them some
Yeah,
love. The
yeah.
different memorabilia from Doak. Like I know, don't make this whole thing comments about how they're screwing you out of your family seats that you've had forever. I've read all those comments. I do feel bad, but there's nothing I can do about it. A cool thing I saw was people going to the Battle's End, buying the memorabilia, the signs, the different things there from Doak, and the money goes back to the Battle's End. That's a great way to do things. Like that was
Yes.
really smart by Ingram Smith and the team over there at TBE. If you're not supporting the Battle's End, we continue to ask you to do that. But if you refuse to do that and you refuse to listen to our begs there, go to their YouTube and subscribe. They put out really good content with a lot of the guys. You are supporting them by tuning in and checking out that content. But are you buying a brick, Richie? Are you going to get one of those signs with the section numbers, or what's your plan there?
So I'm very interested to see what happens here because so next Sunday, a week from today, is my anniversary. It's 7 years and it's copper. I'm curious if there's any copper in those bricks because if there is, my wife will be buying me a brick. I will not be buying one, but we will have one over my right shoulder right here, and I'm excited about that. But I think that's what a smart idea. You could just demolish the area, get rid of everything. No, give the fans a piece of history where things like the choke at Doak, where you were down 31-3 happened, different games like that, where, one of my favorite games in 2010 when Florida State beat Florida for the first time in 5 years after Florida scored the opening touchdown and Florida State wins 31-7 and Christian Ponders doing the Gator chomp running into the tunnel. So much history. I think this is an awesome idea. Shout out Florida State and the Battle's End for this.
Yeah, really cool. If you're not a member of the Battle's End, we would encourage you to go do that. If you're not subscribed to their YouTube or following them on social media, we would encourage you to do that as well. But if you refuse to do all of that and you want a piece of Doak from the renovations, you can go get it online. I'll find the link and I'll put it in the description as well of this video, and you can go support that way. So